Alright, what's going on guys, it's Epoxy, and today we'll be doing a full breakdown and analysis of the Cyberpunk 2077 Postcards of Night City trailer, which not only gave us a look around Night City, but also at new characters, new weapons, and more. This is going to be a longer analysis than normal, so with that said, let's roll the intro. Starting off, we get our first glimpse into the TV programs for Night City, more specifically, A Tuned in which we get our first look at Juanita. She is apparently going to give us some news that is Novamax. Next, we get a look at the updated scene looking out of V's apartment window, with the blinds opening and giving us a view of Night City, with Japantown off in the distance. And just as another better quality comparison than last time, here is a side-by-side with the 48-minute gameplay demo from 2018. We can also spot an AV flying by, signs for mac and cheeses, spunky monkey, roasted noodles, Kuroshi optics, soft sis, as well as a number of ad spots. It's not certain as to whether the balcony section seen here is attached to the mega building that V's apartment is in, but we can see what seems to be an AV landing platform and a swimming pool. Next up, we get an updated scene out in the streets of Watson outside of V's apartment. Up close and personal, we get to see a guy that doesn't look to be doing so well. He's covered in dirt, crossing his arms, shaking, and looks like he has one of those portable brain dance headsets on. I'd also like to note the variety in animations here, with the guy walking with his arms crossed, slightly slouched over, with bad posture, and shaking. Then we have the person walking with a cigarette in their hand with straight posture. And lastly, the person with the coat and hat doing more of a limp walk. We can also spot more industrial-styled vehicles, the Kabayan Foods location, which also has a karaoke sign, so whether or not we can participate in something like that should be quite interesting. We can also see a sign for Macroware, which is one of the companies featured in the game that we actually know very little about. We can also spot an N-Cart station in the background, which is also known as Night City Area Rapid Transit, which is one of the forms of fast travel in Cyberpunk 2077. Better put, it's the metro system of Night City. We can also see some ads for Weldon Holt, which is one of the candidates running for Night City Mayor in 2077. Moving on, we get another look at the beautiful Japantown in the distance, with a more shantytown area of Kabuki in the foreground. This is just another angle of Japantown in which we saw earlier, but there are still some things to note here. First off, the absolutely disturbing "do you hate your meat" ad, which yes. And then some signs that we couldn't see from the other angle include Data Inc., Psycho, and Below Deck. Next, we get a look at just how messed up some of the living conditions are in Night City, with people literally living next to a massive fan blade. It also looks like people just straight up throw their trash out of their windows, based on this massive pile to the right. It also looks like AVs are not afraid of flying between tight gaps between buildings, as we can see one flying in this scene. We can also spot a number of ads that we have previously seen, most notably from the World of Cyberpunk 2077 book. One really cool ad is of the alien-looking fashion model that we saw in the book as well. We can also spot way out in the distance an ATAK logo, which we still don't know anything about, but we have seen the logo multiple times. Now this next shot gives us a really good look at the scale of Night City. We can spot a smaller Arasaka building, multiple mega buildings, a ton of traffic, and yet another massive AV flying overhead. This area seems to be much more industrial than the rest of Night City, so this could potentially be an ID. Moving on, we get a look at another TV host. These are most definitely pre-rendered shows for display in Night City, which we can tell from the detail in her hair alone. We can also see that the plastic translucent clothing is very much still a thing, as we'll see multiple times throughout this trailer, which plenty of people were actually worried about being removed, as it was lacking in one of the updated scenes in a more recent trailer. She's also decked out with facial cyberware and cyber arms. In the background of the scene, we can spot a few hologram looks at the Dara Polytechnic Auto Shotty, the Midnight Arms SOAR 22 shotgun, the Ripper Doc glove, Arasaka mantis blades, and a gorilla arm. The next scene, we get a very sunny shot of Night City, which we can see multiple AVs flying about, loads of skyscrapers, some of which being mega buildings, others looking a lot more modern than we've seen. We can also spot a med center hospital with a trauma team logo up top. We then get another brief look of the same location, but from another angle. I'm not certain as to whether this is the Arasaka waterfront or somewhere else, but it almost seems like they're using the sun to hide something in the distance. Now, jumping all the way back to Kabuki, we get another look at the Drop In. This area shows us the extent they will go with advertising in Night City, as well, since the massive 360 billboard and signs aren't enough, why not also throw advertisements along the curb of the sidewalk as well? We can also spot a Vilfort van in this scene. Next, we get a look at what seems to be a ton of street food vendors. And this actually gives us a good look at the wild variety of clothing we'll see people wearing around Night City. We can also see the detailed trash that we've heard plenty about, which is made from actual items in the game, including the flying newspaper. Next up, we get a scene of V grabbing some food at one of the food vendors, which seems to be some sort of meatballs on a skewer. We can also see that there are some sushi plates available, which vary in cost. We can see one that costs 14 eddies and another that costs 9 eddies. We can also spot a number of drinks, including Night Cola, Spunky Monkey, Cyrus Cola, and others. We can also spot that 54 Network News is playing breaking news on the television, so we could possibly see some news on the TV related to where we are in the story, and just about Night City in general. We also see quite the figure sitting next to us, but the best part of this scene is Johnny Silverhand chilling over in the background watching us order food. We can also see a fast travel station in the background, so it looks like these will be plentiful around Night City. And now we get a look at what could be the town hall for Night City, with it saying, Night City, the City of Dreams, established in 1994. We then get a look at Weldon Holt shaking hands with the man that we actually previously got a look at in a screenshot walking by a newspaper kiosk. So CD Projekt Red was trying to tease this guy. So it seems like he might play a role in the campaign for Weldon Holt. Next is another media figure, this time a man that seems to discuss the stock market on air. We can clearly see the stock price increase and decreases for Zetatech, Aerox, Nakota, Tsunami, Malorian, Kuroshi, Armadillo, and Archer. Interestingly, 2 of those we don't know anything about. He's of course got big stacks of eddies on his desk, a stack of books, and funny enough, a basketball, weight, boxing gloves, and a baseball bat. Next up, we get a disorienting shot looking up to the sky, and this gives us an idea of how tiny we'll feel in comparison to these massive buildings. We can also spot some more notable signs, such as Night Corp, and another sign for ATAK. Now, this next scene gives us a cool look at the road we saw V driving along at night during the B-roll footage from the first Night City Wire episode, which means this is likely within Little China. We can spot a civilian variant of the Thornton truck that we've seen out in the Badlands, a Mizutani manufactured car, and a van from Mahir Motors. And now we get a highway shot that gives us a good look at some vehicles from Chevelon and Thornton. In fact, we can even see a Thornton building in this scene. And next to that, we can also spot a building for Orbital Air. Moving along, we get a quick new style transition that shows us a few more graphic scenes, such as a field of people in body bags with some soldiers carrying them, a scene of a massive fire with an AV flying overhead and more soldiers, what looks to be someone strapped to a table, and another image of some soldiers grabbing onto a child. We then get back to in-game footage with a man sitting on a bench with a brain dance headset outside of what looks to be the Drop In once again. Now, something I want to criticize here is the very bad clipping issues the game still seems to have, which I do want to say clipping is inevitable in large games like this, but this looks like it definitely still needs some work. We can also see the random graffiti you're bound to see around the world, a lot of it looking like it was scribbled by a child, and we can also spot a man with some more grounded prosthetic legs walking down the sidewalk. Now we get a look at the exterior of one of the familiar mega buildings, which seems to be the one that V's apartment is located in, unless this one has the exact same layout. I say that as moving into the interior, we are welcomed with scenes similar to what we've seen in the past from the 48-minute gameplay demo in the mega building for V's apartment, giving us a look at the open roof. We then get a look at a girl with a prosthetic arm having a smoke facing the center of the mega building, where we can see some shops and signs, which includes Turbo, Softsys, Masala Studios, Data Inc., and a pawn shop. We then get a look at 2 guys sitting on the ledge, one of which with a shirt that says burn corpse shit and is also having a smoke. From this angle, we can spot Mac and Cheeses and Tengu, both of which were seen in the same spot in V's mega building. So this does seem to be the same building. Next up, we get our first look at what seems to be a newly revealed Ripper dock. We can see some work being done on V's arm, but we can't actually see what is being done. He's also sharing a few puffs with V while the work is being done, which does seem to be altering V's vision. So this is definitely a less professional environment compared to Victor. We can also see that he's associated with the Valentinos, as he has a massive Valentinos tattoo across his chest. We can also see that V is sporting some wild metallic looking gorilla arms, wearing quite the banana themed outfit with a fully yellow shirt and bright yellow pants. We then jump to a look at city center with the massive roundabouts and highway underpass surrounded by massive skyscrapers. We can also see our first look at the holographic koi fish that fly about some locations in Night City, a petrochem building, and a massive sign that says fourth wall. Now, if we go down on the ground, we get a look at NPCs walking along the paths on the structure over the roundabout and highway underpass. We can see a man wearing silver metallic pants, what looks to be modified eyes, unless he's just bugging out, and golden sleeves. We can see the lady next to him with the same golden sleeves is walking next to a child, which again, yes, children will be in the game as non-combatants. We can also spot the Joker walking along the path and a man carrying a large bag. From here, we can see that we will indeed be constantly asked if we ate our meat, and we can once again see a sign for karaoke. So if I can't sing my heart out in this game, I'll be very upset. On to the next scene, we can see some fancier looking skyscrapers with a ton of ads for Avante, Dynalar, and others. We can also see some weird sign that says fragile with a distorted skull, and we can spot a Nether Kuroshi Opticals sign. Moving on, we then get a montage of media stars, starting with Ziggy Q. And apparently, all of his fans consist of absolutely terrifying mannequins. We then get a look at two pop stars with cybernetic eyes, with one of them looking more exotic than the other, and again with some translucent clothing. And according to the Cyberpunk 2077 book, this seems to be our first look at US Cracks, or US Cracks. I'm not quite certain on that one, but it's a group of manufactured pop stars associated with Kuroshi Optics. Then we get a look at what could be Lizzie Wizzy as a guest on Ziggy Q's talk show, but it's uncertain as we have seen multiple designs for Lizzie Wizzy. For all we know, this could be an imposter. But the most recent look at Lizzie Wizzy was the design for Cyber Magazine. We then get another shot outside of Afterlife with a look at a Herrera luxury sports car, the Vilfort Alvarado, and a random van. It also looks like there might be some sort of paid parking here, and of course we also got another look at the fast travel station out front. Now headed to the inside of Lizzie's bar, we get a look at a DJ with what seems like spiked fashion cyberware for her hair, a brain dance headset, a glowing neon collar, and a tiger tattoo on her back. Now jumping onto the dance floor at what looks to be Afterlife, we're seen dancing with Jackie, and the girl to the left is the same girl we'll be dancing with in the next scene. We can also spot the DJ for Afterlife in the background. We then switch to the scene of dancing with the girl previously mentioned, who has the logo from V's favorite t-shirt on her beanie. She also seems to be more than just a random NPC, so we'll have to wait to learn more about her. Now back to dancing with Jackie with his quite hilarious dance moves. We then get to see V shoving Jackie for whatever reason. It seems at first that it was unprovoked, but if we look into the background, we can see men approaching that don't look to be a part of the party. Whether that was the reasoning for shoving Jackie or if something else happened, we'll have to wait and see. We then transition to a drunk clip of V once again shoving someone, but this looks almost like a Tiger Claw member in the bar. We then get a look at the outside of Bohemia, which is a strip club in Night City. We can even see the XXX and 18+ logos at the door. And once again, the ads bullying me about my meat. It then transitions to a quick clip of a few people having a snack and drinks together, with yet another child in the background that seems to be off by themselves for whatever reason. And we also get to see the frequent sexualization in Night City, with even ads for dog food being sexual. We can also see this man is defying the laws of physics when going up the stairs. We then get a look inside of the strip club with both natural and cyberware enhanced girls on stage performing, which is then followed up with an updated look at people using brain dance for some quality entertainment. We then get a clip of Johnny taking a 20 milligram pill as he's clearly been drinking way too much of that O'Dickin you can see him downing the pill with. And of course the girl that's helping him out with that problem. He's also got a bloodied hand for whatever reason, so there are many layers as to what is going on in this scene. Of course, it's all super ad friendly, and this video totally won't be demonetized. And now we get a clip of the dual wielding shots in the strip club. We then head back out to Night City, in which we can spot even more AVs, some of which are even seen carrying shipment containers. We can also see a sign for a 24/7 store where you can apparently even pick up budget arms slot-o-matics. We can also see a building for Yiba and what looks to be Cali Express. Next, we get a look at some unique buildings in city center, some unique looking roads and traffic lights, and another look at the Mizutani Coupe. But next up, we get a look at yet another media figure, which we'll later find out her name is Ruth Ozang, and the show is named Info Flash, which seems to be a bit more on the political side. We then get a look at what seems to be the old nuclear plant in Arroyo, which is then followed up with a clip of two men wearing hazmat suits out of the Badlands next to a crash truck that was carrying barrels of hazardous materials. One of the men is seen using what looks like a metal detector, but it could also be a portable hazmat sensor. We can also spot some soldiers far out in the background, which is likely either Arasaka or Militech. We can also see that this is right next to a junkyard, which we see in the next clip. Now, I do question if this junkyard is indeed in the Badlands or if it's the giant junkyard in Arroyo. It's hard to definitively say, but we did, however, see that Alana Pierce's character in the game was in a junkyard, and we know she will be a part of the Nomad Life Path, meaning this is likely a junkyard out in the Badlands. We then see Ruth once again for a brief second, leading us into a clip montage of the homeless in Night City. The first clip gives us a look at some homeless people next to a toppled Ferris wheel. We also get to see a cardboard sign that says, "Aliens kidnap my wife and kids. Help me celebrate." That's both funny and toxic at the same time. We then get a quick clip in a back alley, a homeless lady shoving a can up her rear end next to a large pile of trash, but no worries, she has no regrets. We then get some clips from WNS, which seems to be the World News Service, which is showing off the crime in Night City, starting with an armed robbery by the Tiger Claws, with one man running out with a duffel bag and the other blasting into the store with what looks to be the Rostovic shotgun. Then we see the same Tiger Claw member grab onto a hostage in the streets, with NCPD lights pulling up on scene. We then get a look at what seems to be a news anchor for WNS, with an image in the background showing long rows of filled body bags, likely the results of the crime in Night City. Moving on, we get a clip of the NCPD with armored up cars and all, attempting to take on a suspect that is seen holding what seems to be a new revolver, which doesn't end up going well, with one of the police cruisers exploding. We then see even more Tiger Claw members causing havoc about Night City, with one of them holding the Nakota tech rifle, one dead on the ground, and another off in the background. We then get to see the opposing side, that being an NCPD officer, which I swear this is the same guy we just witnessed get incinerated, so I guess this is the literal Terminator holding his ground with a peasant M10AF Lexington out front of Foodscape. And now I'm just craving a damn cheeseburger. It then moves to a panning shot showing him fire at the concrete wall. Definitely looks like the AI needs some work. We can also spot some of the Tiger Claw members from earlier beneath the steps. And then we get to see what seems to be two Maelstrom gang members, one of which is holding the Nakota rifle, and we also get a look at a slightly damaged vehicle, which I don't think we've really seen before. We usually just see pristine or blown up. It also looks like they've created a roadblock with these cars as well. We then see a scene of a group of dead people on the ground, one of which has a duffel bag on his back, so this could potentially have been a robbery gone wrong. Next, we get to see a huge NCPD mech alongside an NCPD officer that is holding what looks to be a newly revealed rifle. And back to the Maelstrom members we go, with a close look at one of the guys missing his entire jaw, as well as a few of his buddies. We then get a very odd scene with this person using some form of welding gun on this girl's cybernetic face. So whether this is some form of torture or if he's modifying her face is unknown, but we can see Johnny Silverhand chilling in the background. Now for some unquestionable torture, we see a female Maelstrom member backhand a man tied in a chair. V is actually watching this play out from inside the Thornton muscle car, so it looks like we might be doing a quest with them. We could also see one of them holding some sort of stick, another holding a rifle, and another searching a body. The next clip shows more people searching bodies, so this could be a random action done by NPCs after killing people. And to be completely honest, this scene almost looks like a party gone wrong. Next up is a clip of even more body bags. This time they're seen next to Militech soldiers. And specifically, this guy looks like he's about to beat the crap out of the Valentinos member. We then see V driving next to the Grand Imperial Mall in rain, in which we can even see that the car is on fire. We can also spot the Buck a Slice in the background, which by the way, this is the area in which was originally seen filled with the animals in the deep dive trailer. But we most recently saw a bunch of random thugs, possibly scavengers, holding this area in the Tools of Destruction trailer. I would also just like to note the insane amount of detail on the inside of the car. We can also see what looks to be a fast travel station at the end of the clip as well. And now we get a look at Maxtac, a specialized NCPD squad for dealing with rampaging cyber psychos suffering from advanced cyber psychosis. They are seen wearing the same outfit as we saw in the original 2013 announcement trailer. The guy in the foreground is seen holding the Midnight Arms SOAR 22 shotgun, but the officer in the back looks to be holding a heavy-duty revolver. We then jump to V tossing a tooth into the sink. But looking up to the mirror, we can see Jackie sitting onto the bed. So this seems to be Jackie's place. And once again, I just want to say, look at those veins. Next up, we see V rushing toward Padre with a briefcase, pushing the Valentino members out of the way. We can also see that Jackie is walking along with us, and there is a fancy car to the right, which looks like it says Chetalon. Moving closer, we can see that V hands the briefcase to Padre himself. We then see V and Jackie at some form of weapon armory, getting some sort of grenades, and that Jackie has in his hand the image of the Rayfield Erendite. So this is likely in preparation for doing the job for Kirk. We're also seen being handed the Nakota rifle, but more interestingly, we can see a number of weapons behind the weapons dealer. We can see the Budget Arms Slot-O-Matic, what looks to be the Milorian Arms 3516, the Militech M179 Achilles, the Arasaka HJSH Mazamune, the Militech M221 Saratoga, the Constitutional Arms M2067 Defender, the shotgun that we pointed out in the last video before Night City Wire Episode 3, and a glimpse at a weapon that has a massive barrel. It could be the heavy sniper rifle that we've seen in the past, or potentially a never before seen weapon. Next up, we see some Maelstrom members causing even more havoc with random civilians, but I personally think the most interesting part here is the very unique looking motorcycle. We then get a scene of the ever so sexy Johnny Silverhand, aka Keanu Reeves, which then sadly cuts back to the same Maelstrom members unloading a mag into the civilian on the ground, and then cuts to them attacking V. We can also see that she's using the Nakota rifle. We then finally see the guy giving the final blow to V with some sort of bladed melee weapon, which is followed by a critical system failure error screen, which lists off a number of things, such as status critical, warning, system core is corrupted, and a warning no connection from Kuroshi Opticals at the bottom right. It then briefly displays fatal brain damage, flatlined, warning, critical error of neural connections, and it shows TNC Medical Center at the top right. This looks to be our death screen. We then transition into a sky view of the toppled Ferris wheel from earlier on in the trailer, a scene of a more traditional home section in Santo Domingo with yet another graffiti tag for the Candy Vandals, which we still haven't seen an explanation for, and we can also spot Pacifica off to the far left in the background and City Center in the main background. We then get the reveal of Ruth Ozang's name, as well as the show being titled Info Flash. crash. Then we transition to a quick clip out in the Badlands, a shot within what seems to be city center, a very fancy and heavily guarded Arasaka estate up around the area of North Oak, with 2 of the guards seen carrying the Arasaka HJSH-18 Masamune. And this place looks very high-end compared to what we've seen, and even has some holographic dragons flying above the building. Moving along, we get another highway shot giving us a look at a number of vehicles, and we can also spot some ads for the US cracks, or US cracks. Again, I still don't know. We then get our first look at Embil Ebenik, the mayor of Night City in 2020. Now we get a look at the streets outside of V's apartment again, this time at night, illuminated by the many neon signs. In fact, we get a look at a few new signs, first of which is guns and ammo, which seems to show a new weapon, and we can also see a sign for Hotel Marquez in the background. We then get a holographic look at Night City, and this seems to be a reference for the N-Cart system. And jumping back to gameplay, we get a look at Tom's Diner, which seems to be a burger place, followed by a panning shot of a few other food locations. We also got an updated look at the large statue in Kabuki, which this thing is absolutely breathtaking. We then get another look from within what seems to be an ID, as we can see a very industrial look of this location. We can also spot some of the holographic dragons up in the sky. Moving along, we see multiple ads for Lizzie's Bar, and we also get a link to the www.nightcity.love website, which I'll actually be covering in an upcoming video. We then get a montage of night scenes. First of which is of the mega building, some ladies having a smoke in an alleyway across from a sex shop, the night crowd out browsing the street vendors, some more casual gatherings of NPCs, a fancy golden statue with an Arasaka logo, a ton of holographic koi fish, an even larger night crowd watching them swim on by, a very weird rooftop shot, and lastly, it ends off with a panning shot of Night City at night. And that wraps up the Cyberpunk 2077 Postcards from Night City trailer. I hope you all enjoyed this trailer breakdown and analysis video. I'll be following this video up with a deep dive into the nightcity.love website and a trailer breakdown for the Cyberpunk 2077 Gangs of Night City trailer. But that's it for this video. I hope you all enjoyed. If you did, please smack that like button down below, subscribe to the Loot Fight if you haven't already, and ring that bell icon to stay updated in all of my future videos. It would be super greatly appreciated as always, and until next time, this is Epoxy, signing off.